Hello, it's Wednesday, and it's time once again for doing stuff with Dice and Dungeons. What I'm going to be doing today is kind of just a real mix of things, depending on how it goes. Hopefully, things will go okay. I have to touch up something I messed up on Monday when I got what should not have dissolved the paint, but did. This is different. This spray paint is a TS. It's a different than the acrylic, and it anyway. The contact cement dissolved a little bit when I was attaching the struts to the bottom of the tail assembly on the plane. So I need to do some red touch up, and then I'm going to do some assembly. I'm going to get the floats on the wing of the Savoia. That's what this is for. I hope this works. I'll explain in a little while. I need to tape the canopy. Not the canopy. I keep saying canopy, and then I have to correct myself. It's the windshield. The windshield for the Savoia, okay, which is a clear plastic bit that looks like this. And it's supposed to be like plexiglass or glass. I'm not sure what material they had at the time. I think it was plexiglass, held together with metal struts like here, and those need to be painted red, but I can't just hand paint them because then I'd mess it up. So I'm going to tape this inside and outside and spray paint the red bits. That probably should have been done like a week ago. If it had been done a week ago, then I could actually finish the Savoia today. But it wasn't. I kept forgetting about it. And then now if I remembered it, I was doing something else and I didn't want to come back to it. So it's not done. And I probably, there's a chance that I could put the whole wing assembly onto the fuselage, but this is sort of under the wing. It's attached kind of under the wing, and the gun sight is even harder. So those really need to be attached to the fuselage before the whole wing assembly is put on. So I need to tape that and get it ready to be spray painted in the future, because I'm going away again. Yeah, it's just that sort of thing. But what I can do today is I can attach the floats to the bottoms of the wing, and I can attach the engine assembly to the top after the floats have set, Attaching the engine assembly to the top is pretty straightforward. There's like 4 nice little struts. Attaching the floats to the bottom of the wing is a little bit less straightforward because when they go on, they could flop over and not be perfectly vertical like they should be perfectly vertical. And then, to be honest, after I put the engine on, I'm not really sure how to store it. I don't really want this to set on the floats, because if it moved a little bit, it could make them not perpendicular. I'll figure something out. The other thing I can do, I probably can safely do this now, is this is a little bit. It's not this big. It's more like this big. It's almost actual size. I can attach that to the side of the fuselage. That's the airspeed indicator. That little propeller on the front spins around. It's free spinning, and its rate of rotation tells it's like attached to the cable, actually, probably. On the instrument panel, it gives an airspeed indication. So that's what I'll be doing on the Savoia, is attaching the floats. I'm going to do that like maybe the second thing I work on today, after touching up the tail. And then we'll see how that goes, if they kind of get nice and solid and I figure out some way of holding this assembly up. I might attach the engine to the top just to get things done, or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just leave it because that'll take hardly any time at all when the final assembly happens after the windshield is done. Unfortunately, I could actually be finishing the Savoia this week if it weren't for the windshield, probably even today. But I'm not going to, and then I'm not going to finish it in April at all because I'm going away again. Another trip. And I'll be back the first week of May. So just to remind everybody, I will be away again for a while. What is this thing? This thing is a piece of foam rubber from an acoustical tile. Sound deadening thing, really. It's a sound absorbing thing. And what this has here is a right angle, okay? And it's soft. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to cut off the triangle part on the top. If you can see that, it's black on black. It's hard to see. There we go. I'm going to cut off the triangle part on the top and use this right angle to basically support the floats on the ends of the wings to keep them perpendicular to the wing surface. That's what, that's not my plan is anyway. We'll be finding out fairly soon if that actually works or not. I'm taking the triangle off because it has to fit between the wing and the float. Cutting this on the other side. This is the part I want. And I'm cutting into it rather than the side that I don't want. Watch me cut foam rubber with scissors. Well, okay. And then this, I should describe what this is because I might be working on this. Maybe. But these are our tests of paint for the armor for my maxi fig. This is me, Ulseth Ralph the Furbog Fighter. And I'm going to be wearing glossy green armor because it's magic mithril plate that I acquired. It's pretty cool stuff. It's got magical properties that are not yet happening. They're not activated because the armor is broken. But I need to get a magical hammer to fix the magical armor. So that's kind of a thing I'm working on in our Dungeons and Dragons show. But once I get it, maybe I will not be mostly dead in every other combat like I have been lately. But it's going to be painted green, so I'm looking at a couple of options here. One is just plain gloss green. That's what this is. I put it on cardboard. It's not very glossy. Okay, it's not very even. But you can see there's some gloss in it. This is the other option I have, which is also sort of a glossy green. And when I look at them, I'm leaning toward this one. This one's a little yellow. I mean, it's not a bad green. It's pretty nice, but this one is more of has a little more blue in it, and I think is more what I'm going for. But I want it also to look metallic if possible. So one thing that I have done a long time ago, that I'll try to do again, is paint a metallic undercoat. And these are just different shades of the metallic paints that we have. And then put a green wash over them. I did this with a dragon. And it came out really well. I put like a silver underneath and put a green wash over it, and it looks like green metal. It's really pretty neat. So we'll see. I have two washes. It's actually a third, but it's really brownish yellow. That isn't what I want. One is a speed paint, and that might be kind of an interesting option. And the other one is a wash. They don't call it that anymore. They used to call them inks or washes, but now they call them shades. The other thing I can do is I can put a metallic wash over the green, just the opposite direction of that. And that's something I'm going to try. I'm going to use some aluminum paint, this one, pretty much. Maybe I'll try both, just to see what the shade is. I'm going to thin it down even more from what it's thinned already. It is pretty thin. It's made for airbrushing. And put a little wash on, a sort of semi-transparent wash of metallic over the green to see how that looks. So that's what these are for. And, you know, I might get around to them. I might get around to doing that later in this stream. I'm not sure. But first, I got some work to do on the Savoia. Just keep this moving along. So here's the fuselage with the tail assembly. I painted the stripes on instead of using the decal. And it didn't come out exactly right. You know, it follows the rudder line here, but then it moved over a little bit. I got the decals on. They worked okay. I got these struts on. That was a pain. But in doing so, I marred the paint right there. Messed up the paint. Oh, did I mess it up here too? No, it's just, you know, it's just the reflection. So I messed up the paint, and I need to fix that. So I'm going to do that first, and then set this aside, and then put the floats on the wing. The process for doing this, since all I have is the spray paint, and I can't spray that. If I had an air gun and I was good at it, I probably could like focus it down and just go, and it would be done, and it would look great. But I don't, and I can't. So I put some of this paint in a container, and I dab it on with a brush, and it usually, but not always, works. There's already paint in here. I don't know what'll happen when I spray paint in there. That it'll dissolve it again and make a mess. This one's got green. The other one's got white. I'm just going to get, I have a lot of these. I'm just going to get a new one. Like, why take a chance, right? I'd have just avoided it and oops. Okay. I need to reach back and get my coffee. I definitely need to do that. And then I hope what happens is that this levels nicely. Off. Yeah, I guess that will be okay. The other thing about this particular paint is that it water and even isopropyl alcohol don't clean it. So I need to use lacquer thinner. Big enough. This paper towel is going to be retired to be a paint cleaner brush washer thing. What I really should do is get a little fan. So when I'm using something like this, make a lacquer thinner, or another solvent. Yeah, that it doesn't overwhelm me. You'll get rid of this. All right. Clean paper towel down here. I'm putting a paper towel over the cardboard because the cardboard is actually kind of abrasive, and I'm doing my best to try to avoid marring the surface of these painted pieces any more than I absolutely can't avoid. This is the done box. This is the interior of the whole plane. That was the first thing I finished. And then the engine compartment goes on the top of the wing. This little cart is for when it is on land because it has no wheels. And these are the floats that need to go on the wing. And then the fuselage, which you just saw where I was touching up the paint, sits on top of this. It sets on there. It's not cemented on, so one can take it off and put it back on. And then you can see the detail on the inside of the plane, which is kind of cool. Just like these hatches here. These go on top of here. They cover the engine compartment, but they are removable so you can see the detail of the engine. So this done stuff, other than the putting this onto the top of the wing, is done. You can see I'm getting really close to finishing this. It's too bad I didn't paint the canopy. So there's a couple things, two things that are important about this. One is very obvious, okay? That is to make sure that the floats are facing the correct direction. There's, they're not, they could be put on either direction, and that would be bad. They're supposed to face forward, like this. Okay? And you can see when I just put it on there, it's leaning over. It's not staying perfectly vertical. It's just attached by these two little points here. And so there's nothing, and they aren't long enough or straight enough, really, to guarantee that it is sitting perfectly vertical, which is why I got that foam rubber out. I'll explain that again in a bit. They also aren't fitting in the hole. Let's see if it fits on this side. Okay, yeah. So there's some paint buildup in the hole and on the float. And this is why I wanted to test ahead of time, because these little prongs need to fit in the holes. Don't. So there's two things I can do. I can take some of the paint off of the little pins, okay, and I can open up the hole a bit. And it looks like the holes are just closed up a little bit. I'm going to get micro drill. I'm not sure if that's the smallest. Just okay. It fits in the one that works. So if this is the one that works. This one is closed. So I'm just going to open it up a little bit with this drill. It's the same size as the other one. There. Now, if I take one of these, I don't break the aileron off. Yeah. Now And it goes right down in there just like it should. Thing what I don't do is break the wing apart. I tested this one here. I'm just going to keep it on this side. I'm going to test this one here. All right. So as I tested this, what you can see is if I just put it on there, it sort of stays sort of stable, but it wiggles a lot. So here, so I'm going to take this stuff. And this side has a 90-degree angle. I'm going to, if I put it on either side, okay, if I put it on either side, it should, it's a little still too tall. Okay, I need to trim it a little bit. I want it to go, if I look at it, it has to go underneath here like that. I don't want it to push against the bottom of this. So I need to make it a little bit thinner. Shouldn't really screw up that side. So I know that this is the side I'm using. Again, I don't know if this is going to work or help or make a difference or not. I don't think it'll hurt. Pretty sure it's not going to hurt anything. The thought is that if I squeeze them together like that, it looks like that would work if I just sort of push them together like that. If they stayed like that, it would hold it up. If I push one way or the other, but if I push them together, it's almost like they're too light. Well, if I just leave it, it's going to flop around. This is my best bet. And I'm hoping when there's an adhesive in there that it will not flop around quite as much. know if I'm wasting time or not, if I'm doing something clever or if this is just dumb, but just find out. But that's the thing, is that these need to be just vertical. They just need to be. And this is the best solution I've come up with in terms of coming up with a way to do that. I don't want to use, I'm using they're not going to hurt the paint. Okay, they're not going to scratch. See, I'll do one and then the other. Because I could use something heavier, maybe stiffer, but I don't know. I'm going to use contact cement again, just because it gives me more time to work. And maybe the model cement would work better on this. I'm not sure if it grips hard enough. No, I'm just going to give this a go. What I will be doing is I'll be going down and looking at it right across from the tabletop here. Make room. I need to, after I put them on, I need to move this somewhere so I can work on other things, right? Like taping the canopy, for example. So it's like, where can I put it? And I'm going to have to just slide it back so that I've got some room here. So I'm just making a space. Put this up near the front. I want to move it away from me as far as I can get it. Contact points. It just isn't. Okay. So the two important things are to get this pointed in the correct direction, which means that this is opposite, that needs to be turned around, needs to be go on like this, so that the front of the float is toward the leading edge of the wing. That's important. And then the other important thing is that they be perpendicular to the wing. I have a good 50-50 chance to get them pointed in the correct direction. The keeping them perpendicular, I don't know. If I could use CA glue, if I was skilled enough to do that, I would hold it. It would look good, and it would just set right. I'd throw some activator on it or something, but I can't do that because I know I'll mess it up. It'd be like 100% mess. Things, a couple things away, so that they're slightly out of the way. I'm just waiting for the contact cement to get ready to be contacted. Throw some trash away. Okay, well, these should stick to each other. Actually holding pretty well. If I can just make sure. These little rubber bits. Okay. It's looking okay. Let me do the other one. So I'm hoping is when this is done that they are facing in the correct direction. To the edge of the way. Stuff just that's for a while. It says 15 minutes, which is a long time, and what up to 2 hours or so, right, before it doesn't stick to itself anymore. A little flaw that I decided to try not to fix because it was just next to impossible in the paint. Just this whole thing is. I was hoping for a solid A on it, and parts of it are. Some are even A plus. There are other parts that are just, you know, an A minus would be kind of a gift. Um, but I have done my best on this model, and now it's getting down to the only really tricky part, because there isn't much to be done other than to cement this onto the fuselage and put the engine on the top of it, is the canopy. And that, uh, yeah, that one I just need to mask. I need to do a really, really good job of masking that. And it's tiny and slippery, and it's little fiddly angles. It's going to be, no. And then as I'm thinking about it, I might just not do that today, because I'm not going to be able to unmask it until I get back, which is like 3 weeks away. And so the masking tape would just be sitting on there for 3 weeks, which might be a good thing. I don't know, maybe it would adhere better or cover better. I don't know, or else it might just like pull away a little bit. No, that's just a bad idea. I'm sorry that it just makes everything take a little bit longer. But I think I need to. I think I need to wait till I get back to do the masking on that. I just, yeah, it'll just have to wait. And so after I get these floats on, that might be all I do on the Savoia today. I think what I'll end up doing is I'm just going to end up putting it back in the box. And get this ready. Gross. I'm going to replace that. The canopy is in here. It's a Porco Rosso minifig. Maybe I'll work on that. That's a possibility too. But the canopy will wait. This, unfortunately, it's red now, but it's not even. It looks like there's a scar on the. See, that's the kind of thing right there, where I just messed up with the cement. That's the kind of thing that turns this model from an A to like an A minus or maybe a B plus. It's in a next to impossible place to see. The only way you're going to see it is to turn this over and inspect it. But it's just disappointing to have something like that happen right near the end. Okay, the wing is just going to go here. It's just way. Everything's in the way. There's just no room for anything. Everything's a mess and in the way. So there. Time to attach this. Thing isn't so much a template or anything. It's just like a measuring device. See if I've got a right angle. I think that's about as good as it's going to get. I just don't see, they look pretty vertical to me. Okay. You can't see what I'm looking at. Great. I'm not going to, I'm going to move the camera. There's a fuselage with the B minus strut underneath that. These are now attached. And what needs to be done is that these bits here attach right there. Okay. But in the process, they cover up the little spots here where the canopy attaches and the gun sight attaches. So that has to wait for that. But they just go on there. Okay. It's pretty straightforward. I need to test fit it, of course, to make sure that they actually fit, because, pins and holes. And then on the top of this wing, there are 4 attachment points just like that, and that's where the engine goes on the top. And so the assembly is really down to putting the wing and the engine on, other than these little bits right here. Oh yeah, I was going to attach this. Maybe I'll just do that. Why not? Since I haven't messed up anything in here, this tiny little bit, that's the airspeed indicator. The black thing is the gun sight. This attaches, I'm going to have to use tweezers for this. Yep. There isn't really a slot for this. There's an indentation in the side of the fuselage. Let me move this back down. There's an indentation here, just right there where that goes, just like that. It's supposed to stay there and not fall off. This will be a little tricky, but I'm going to use the go one way. This again, this has to be facing forward, otherwise it's not going to work. Use the contact cement for this again, because if I get it on both places just right, when I touch it to it, it will hold on and hopefully won't sag. Okay. See if it works. Floats aren't flopping over anyway, as long as I don't bump it or anything stupid. Don't count on that. As I said, don't do anything stupid. That very well might be what happens. So, yeah, not stupid. I'm going to get these brushes out of the way here. If I'm going to do any, I might put them here because I want to push this away. Push it away. Oh, great. I'm putting it right in front of. Muttering to myself, I'm trying to get things out of the way so that I don't have a disaster later. I have to reach over all of this to get to the Stream Deck thing. That's what it's called. I can tell it's called the Stream Deck because it has big letters on it that says Stream Deck. It's not like an endorsement or anything for anything in particular. I'm just reading what's there. And I have to reach over this stuff in order to get to it. And sometimes that is a problem. So I'm going to move these as much as I can to not be not to be knocked over or bumped into when I do that. These are done. This is done. Just walking around, putting things away. Paper towel. Got a lot of paper towels out here that are just partially messed up. Okay, well, I'm not going to get done everything I was planning to do today because I was just thinking about it and decided not to attach the engine to the wing because I want those to be nice and solid. And it won't take too terribly long when it comes time to do that. And then the canopy and the gun sight need to go on here. And those are going to have to wait for a couple of streams after I get back in May. So I'll be doing little tiny bits of things on the Savoia, not very much. I'll be masking the windscreen, and that'll be like the first thing I'll do after I get back is masking the windscreen, and then I'll spray paint it. And then the next stream, I'll unmask it and hopefully not groan or moan or cry or anything too much, and that it came out really well. And then the final assembly, because once that's painted, once the windscreen is painted, it goes on here like that. Then the gun sight goes on, attaches to the wind. It goes through the windscreen actually and attaches here. I need to do a tiny bit of touch-up paint on the inside of this. Okay, and I'll try to remember to do that before I put the wing on so I can hold it while I do it. Okay. And then I attach the wing to the fuselage and the engine to the wing. And then I find a place to store this whole thing where it doesn't get all dusty. Do this with my fingers. Then I have to orient it. It's not flopping over. To be, it's like a little line up there, a little panel line. Lined up with that. What is this? I got it. Okay. There was a little string. Maybe there is. Is there now a flaw in the paint? Get that through my head magnifier. I think I messed the paint up again. It's just like a little string. Like a paint bristle. That was really bizarre. The hell? Where am I getting this stuff everywhere? The paint bristle is here. Sorry. It's just like little bits of stuff going on. Keep your workshop spotless. What you really need is like a clean room. You really do. Otherwise, you get dust on the surfaces. Little bits of things pop up later and get in the way. What they are, where they came from. Well, if that stays where it is, that will be okay. There, you see it there. It's the airspeed indicator that is now attached to the fuselage. It's nothing around or sagging or anything. Keep poking at it. That's not a good. That doesn't help. Doesn't help to just keep poking at it. I'm gonna put that there. I'm gonna cover this up. Push it aside. I'm gonna check that a little bit later if I remember. I am, if I remember to see. Am I making all these sounds? I'm going to check on that later to make sure that everything's still in alignment before the contact cement gets totally immobile. And I've got all of these partially messed up paper towels everywhere. Just put it on top of that. There's this. Okay. I'm going to mess around with okay, I can do some painting today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work on my maxi figure. This is like 11. Yeah. I haven't sprung forward my clock. Um I'm going to start with the washes on the metallic. And I'm going to put the speed paint here. What should I call it? Shade. Then that's an S. It's made by, I'll just call it ink. On both here and here, see what it looks like. Paint first. Here. This right now. There. I've got a thing here, a work area. So the speed paint has pigment in a colored solvent. The solvent part of the paint is green, and it has darker green pigment in it. It's very liquid. It's like a wash. It is. It's designed to be a wash, not a base coat. And it's designed so that the dark pigment settles out of the solvent into the recesses. And so what it does is it creates shading, darker, lighter. It creates highlights and darker spots just by going over it once. And so instead of putting a base coat on of one color and then a wash on top of that, and then coming back a third time and doing highlights, lighter colored highlights on the raised surfaces, it does it all at once. At least for people who know what they're doing, that's how it works. For me, I've had some success with it on some of the minifigs, some little bits. It works really best. Like I'll show you one where there's a lot of texture. Okay, so I used it on her hair, and you can see that it worked pretty well. The dark settled into the low spots, and the high spots stayed lighter, and so it gave it it emphasized the texture of the hair on the little gnome cleric who has a fireball for some reason. It worked pretty well. So it does work best where there's a lot of creases, unevenness, kind of words. One of those words. To say that doesn't look bad. It's kind of a nice color. I have a lighter one, a darker one. I could have saved myself a fairly big chunk of money. Not well. We'll see. We'll see if the ink that I bought works or not. If I end up doing this, then I just wasted money buying something else. Probably. You can see there's some variation in the color, but that might be an okay thing. Okay, well, let me stir this up. I haven't used this before. It's when I was painting Warhammer, which would have been, God, 20 plus years ago. They had just sort of come out. We got the big box set. It's lizardmen, orcs and goblins, and elves. And one kid took the elves, and one kid took the lizardmen, and I took the orcs and goblins. Bought a whole bunch of different colors, including the washes. They don't have as many as they did then, as if I recall. They had some really nice, like bright blue and red and green and stuff. And I don't know, the models and things have changed, I guess, since then. I never really was very good at doing that kind of stuff. Hard to open. Say that. There we go. Well, it's kind of as I remember it. It's very thin. This is interesting. It's kind of gooey. Almost like a speed paint. It isn't like two different colors, but I mean, it isn't like a separate pigment in the solvent. I mean, this might be useful for something, but it's not going to work for the armor. I can just say that at this point, this isn't bad, but it's not. It's also not the rich, deep green that I was hoping for, and it's not how it kind of shows through, but it's not shiny. This is magic mithril plate. Do the options that I've got. Another option. I'm going to give that a try too. Do that. This is an option. I'm going to take the gloss green, this glossy green. I'm going to thin it way down and turn it into a wash. Yeah. Great. It's always important to stick one's fingers in wet paint. It's just a thing. It's a thing that needs to be done. If you're not sticking your fingers into wet paint, okay, or having the paint jump onto your fingers in a way that you just have no idea how it happened. If you're not doing that, you're not doing it right. Okay, in order to do it right, you have to get paint on your hands, usually in ways that seem to be physically impossible, and then you need to touch an already painted surface and mess it up. Those are just really critical things. I'm just checking to make sure that my airspeed indicator hasn't wandered off. If that makes a difference, I'll check it again later. It was sagging a little bit. Okay. So I have the thinner that goes with the paint. Let's paint and I'll stir it up first. If I knew I could get it clean, I would use this to get the paint out of the bottle into the well where I will be thinning it. But I'm not. It's not going to get clean. It's just going to be green painted. Going to attempt paint in this way. I've got more than I need. Sure. I don't know how much I need to thin it. I'm going to get some thinner, put it in there, and stir it up. See how it looks. I've got enough to do the entire model here. Mm. You know, that doesn't look bad. Got so much of it there. Okay, well, there's that. Experiment has been done. Do the other experiment, which is to try to put a metallic wash on the green paint. Green paint there. Probably should have kept the thinner out. Well, maybe I don't need to. I'll just see how it goes. It's the just plain aluminum paint. So what I'm working on are different test colors for the armor for my 4 times normal size for a minifig. It was a Christmas gift. It was printed. It is the same as my current minifig figure, but I'm going to try to paint it to make it look like I'm wearing a Shiranoon green magical mithril plate. If that makes any sense at all. Good anymore. Remembered that opening these, sometimes the paint spatters. That's one of the ways I've managed to get paint on my hands in a physically impossible way. I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to get a really thin coat on here, and then I'm going to see how that works. And if it isn't really working very well, I'm going to thin it. Pretty much made the green go away, didn't it? So that's not going to work. The idea was for the green to show through and have a metallic overlay on it, but that didn't work. So it's already thin, but now it's going to be way thinner. That was there. I was very much not careful there. And this got thinner scattered around. Here I am not putting things away. So this is going to be thinner. Thinner. It's been thinned with thinner. It should be more of a wash and less opaque. That's kind of interesting. I'm going to thin it even more and see what happens. This is ages ago, after I'd first discovered washes, by doing the Warhammer thing. I built a Jurassic Park dinosaurs. Those were the first. I actually did a pretty decent job with them. I sealed all the seams. I filled them in, sanded it all down, carved out places where the ridges on the skin. I made the raptor look kind of like a tiger. It's tan with darker brown stripes, and I wanted to shade it really slightly, so it's slightly darker on top. So I took some brown paint and watered it down. because I didn't want to disturb the paint underneath with solvent from paint. I just watered it down so there was hardly any color in the water at all, and just kept brushing it from top to bottom. And it's pretty subtle, but it worked. It worked okay. That was my last attempt at trying to be at all artistic. Not thinning it yet even further just didn't work. I mean, it's just thinner. It's kind of like mucusy, maybe. I don't know. Maybe if it dries, when it dries, it might look interesting. This one's kind of turning out interesting. It didn't work on the dark green. For some reason it just doesn't work as well, but it's kind of interesting on the glossy green. Okay, well, there's enough of that experiment. Did the experiment anyway. That will then be the end of the test. So this is what I've got. I could do a metallic base coat and then put a wash over it, either the speed paint or the gloss green, either a lighter or a darker undercoat, or I could try to put an overcoat of metallic over the green. I'm not sure either of those work very well, or else I could just use the dark, just the regular color. Set those aside because they were an experiment, and at some point I'll check them out with the artist in our group, Nicole, who plays Zoya on Sul in our D&D show. Check it out with the artist, and she might have an opinion about which of these works best or what other alternatives there might be. Or she might disagree with what I'm planning to do with the figure altogether. You never know. Never know until you ask. I'm just checking again. I'm almost afraid to touch it because I, was in contact with paint. Well, it's sticking on. The floats are still looking vertical. Well, I'm just going to leave that there for practically a month and then see what it looks like when I get back from the trip. Okay. This is now a dangerous mess. But I've got time yet in this stream. And I'm going to start continuing to work on this model. This is me. This is Ulseth Ralph, the Furbog fighter. I've got a flaming longsword, and I'm going to make this look a little more interesting by taking bronze paint, a darker brass kind of color, and highlighting the raised surfaces. And then I'm going to paint that glossy red, the little jewel. And then the blade will require a couple of coats because it's got yellow in places and dark primer in others. I'm going to paint that I think I'm going to paint it aluminum. I decided it's going to be kind of a shiny blade and not kind of a dark blade. But let's get the bronze highlights on here first. I haven't decided what to do with the cape. Nicole claims it was an accident on one of the minifigs she painted, but she got the cape like velvety looking somehow by just layering different colors on. And she said, "Oh, that was just a mistake I made." No, it looked gorgeous. I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure how to do that. That might be something else I just experiment with. I've got that cardboard. I might do that. Is try different layers, different base coats, and different layering, and kind of streaking. I've got some different greens I could work with. I don't want it to be the same color as the armor. So I think, yeah, we'll see how this goes. I might, if this all comes along okay, then I will experiment with different colors for the cape. That's what I was saying. So I was trying to say, but didn't get around to actually finishing the sentence I was working on. It looks more interesting now. I think it looks okay. I think I'm getting it okay. See if I can do the other side in a similar fashion. Yeah. I wasn't usually thinking of doing it dark with the light highlights, but I like it better with the light with the dark. So that's that. And I guess I'll paint the blade. I'll put the first coat of color on the blade and then do the jewel. And I'm just going to use this color. This is the same color I was using here that got thinned and then thinned some more. No, well, I'm going to use a different brush for this. Don't unscrew the top. That was bad. I'm becoming incoherent much earlier in the stream than usual. Well, part of it is we recorded an episode of our Dungeons and Dragons show last night, which you need to watch. It is an amazing show. I keep saying that because it is true. You absolutely must watch our D&D show. And if you can't catch it when it streams on Twitch with a live chat on Sundays at 2, then what you can do is go on YouTube and catch earlier episodes. And you should get, a way to catch up with the characters and everything. Just do that. Watch our show. It's amazing. It's not, you're not just watching people play a game. You're watching, kind of decent voice actors become their characters and put on a D&D show. And we recorded an episode last night, and it went kind of late. So I had a little less sleep than I usually do. I can't. This is another one of those things that looks just fine from one angle, and you turn it, and it doesn't look good anymore. Just what I'm talking about is the line between the different colors. It's like, oh, I needed to put this silver blade up higher, and then I turn it, and it looks like, no, I shouldn't have done that. I guess I can touch that up with the yellow later. Here, that's the blade there. I mean, it looks a little weird, but that is where the blade is. It's going to require more than one coat. It's kind of thin paint, and it's letting the different base colors, yellow flame and it's covering pretty well, but not great. So I'll be putting a second coat on, and then I'll probably get out like a really little teeny brush and do some yellow retouching there, where it looked really fine from this side, but not when I turned it. The flames coming up off the sword are very different on this side. Much harder to tell where the sword is and where the flames are. got this flaming longsword in the game, in the show. It's been so long. I think it was purchased. No, my cloak of fire resistance was purchased in a store. And that's turned out to be a good thing to have had. But I don't remember where the longsword came from, whether it was purchased or whether it was won. Yeah. I got the metallic paint on things or I don't want it. So I'll need to come back and fix that. I'll do that after I put the second coat of metallic on now. The blob of paint there. I think the flames would look better against maybe a darker blade. I don't know. It's a magical sword, you know. It shouldn't be. Shouldn't be scorched. I don't think. I want to leave it shiny like that, like this aluminum color, rather than I have a darker shade that I could use, but I don't. I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to leave it the way that is. I'll just put a second coat on later. The dagger. Do up. I'm thinking. You know, paint this bronze, just plain bronze, maybe. The not much of it shows. I've got the paint out. I'm just going to do that. But I'm going to paint the blade of this darker. Paint the blade of the dagger, the offhand weapon. Paint that a darker shade. Nah, the delineation there is not as clear as I would like it. Yeah, I'm just painting it the bronze color. I really like the bronze. It's a nice, it's not just like gold or bright brass or something. It's this richer kind of look and feel. I think I've got enough of it on here. Yeah, to make to, to show the difference between the brighter brass underneath the gold, really, and the darker color. Make it too dark. Okay. Well, I need to put a second coat of the silvery color on the blade. I'll do that in a little while. I want to let it dry a little bit before I do that. And then this way, I don't need this, the dark aluminium. Let me get the duraluminum out again. Using this a lot. This is the color I'm going to use on the dagger blade when the time comes. In the meantime, get my samples out again. It's like, what do I do with the cloak? And what I do with it is move these boxes off of my color chart. Wow. Knock things around, knock them down. In terms of greens, I've got this thick green, which has a little bit of a yellow in it. I've got these blue greens. It's kind of tempting to use the emerald green. You know, I'm going to use a light green base, and then the emerald is kind of a overlay. I want to see how that looks. Fine. Thick green as well. These others are too yellow. There's too much yellow in them. Why not? I mean, this is just a test, right? So the test is going to be, and I've also got the speed paint, which might look good on it. And put a big blotch. I need a big blotch of light green and a big blotch of thick green, so I can test these different things. Here's the light green. It's goblin green. I wonder if that would work. This is thick green. Again. No, that's way too yellow. Okay, I'm just waiting for the metallic paint to dry on the sword before I put a second coat on. All of these greens separate really significantly between the solvent and the pigment. So while I'm waiting, when I get back, I'll be finishing the Savoia. Probably it'll take two streams to finish it. One to mask the windshield and then paint it after that. Like if I come back and I'm not sure what day I'm getting back of the week. So say I do a stream on Wednesday and I mask the windshield on Wednesday, I'll spray paint it. And then on Friday, I can do the final assembly of everything. So it'll take like 2 streams, depending on how awful things go, maybe 3. And then the Savoia will be done. So that raises the question of the other one is going to be on this other piece of cardboard. Be sick green. Our piece that would work, and I didn't. So it gets us to the point now of thinking about what'll be next. Well, one thing that'll be next is finishing the Apollo. I absolutely need to do that. That has to do with the instrument panels. And getting those printed on sticky paper. And after they're printed on the sticky paper, sticking them on in this and doing the final assembly of the Apollo. That'll take a couple of streams. But then when that's done, when the instrument panels are done and it's all installed in the command module, then the Apollo will be done after, taking a hiatus, a break. I took a break away from the Apollo long enough to hopefully complete the Savoia. Then it's on to something else. And I've got two that are definitely in the running. One is an all plank wooden model of the America, which was the yacht that won the first America's Cup, the America Cup. Yacht was named America. And so there's that. And that would be pretty amazing if I could pull that off. And the other is a model of the Lotus Ford that won the 1965, I think it was 65 Indianapolis 500. I was around to watch that, of course. That was pretty exciting. It was the second year that the rear engine cars debuted. They debuted in 64 but didn't win. But Jim Clark won with this Lotus powered by Ford, just a Ford 289 V8 that was boosted to give close to 900 horsepower. It was just insane. So I built the original of that model when it first came out, like in 1966. I built one then, but I found one on eBay and I thought, well, that's a nice retro thing, kind of a nostalgia thing to do. Why not? And I'm kind of tempted to do that. I'm just looking at this and seeing. So it's just a different angle again. You look at it from a different angle. This needs to be a little darker here. Pretty subtle, but visible. So I'm kind of tempted to build that. The original is near us. It's in Michigan at the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan. This needs a lot of fixing. And there's some significant parts of the model that are just really inauthentic. For example, this was a race car, right? None of it was chrome. They didn't put chrome on parts of the race car. Maybe the only thing that might have been would be the roll bar. But the wheels were not chromed. They were magnesium alloy. The exhaust was definitely not chromed. It was painted flat yellow. Okay. The suspension parts, I'm not sure what they were made out of. Some sort of steel alloy. They had to be strong. I doubt that they were an aluminum alloy back then, but they were definitely not chromed. So all these great chrome parts on this model that I am not going to allow to be chromed because I want it to look more authentic, a little bit more authentic anyway, as much as I can make it without, and still keeping it within my skill level. So what I decided I'm going to do if I build that model is the chrome parts are going to be primed because the primer should stick to the chrome. And then I'm going to paint them one of the appropriate metallic colors that I've got, like maybe aluminum or duraluminum, a little darker to make it look like magnesium wheels. And of course, the exhaust, which is not chromed but painted in the original yellow, I will paint yellow. This is called sick green, but it's actually kind of a nice color. And with an overlay on it, it might look pretty good for the cloak, which I want to be different from. I want it to look really rich, okay, but not the same color as the armor. So there, I've got a spot of that too. It's going to get a little darker as it dries. So I got the light green and the sick green, I'm going to try putting different colors over that. See how they look to make it look kind of velvety. I could go on again about why would something like this, why would a furbog fighter wear a cloak? It's not keeping him warm. It's not really good back armor because it's just, even if it were magical, it's just cloth, right? Not like the mithril armor he's wearing anyway. If you're swinging a sword, you could get it caught in it. If you swing around, it could wrap around you. I think, and then superheroes do that too. It's like, if you're a superhero, you have to have a cloak. Batman has to have one. Superman has to have one. Not everybody does, but some of the first ones just were cloaky. I should wash this off in maybe the isopropyl or something. It's accumulated a fair amount of paint. This paint's still in the brush. I'm going to put a second coat of paint on the sword. It's still good. Pattern on this side is more interesting than the other. It's a little more swirly. Great line. But it is what it is, right? It's a little more swirly toward the front. Looks like it's okay now. rotate it and see a spot. Probably under here, that should be metallic. And then I'm going to get the yellow out and come back and rearrange the boundary line a bit in a few places. From one angle, it looked fine, and then another, it looks like I got the metallic up on the yellow where it should still be yellow. I find that to be common. The common flaw in my painting is that I'll hold it in one direction and it looks really fine, and then I'll rotate it and it's like, oh, I missed the line. Like a little bit right there, and there's some back here, and a few spots on the other side, especially not so much from the top, but when I look at it from a slightly different angle. Next thing I'm going to do is paint the dagger. And then I'm not sure what, oh, then I have to paint the jewel. At least there's that. I should get some clean wash water is what I should also do. How's the time going? Hour yet? I might not be able to fill the whole time. I'm not sure. Well, those test colors might. Come back to my test patterns for the cloak. Get the duraluminum out. This one. Once again, I will be away until the beginning of May. Oh, I did a rhyme. That's almost as good as GPT chat. And when I get back, I will take 2 streams to finish the Savoia. That's going to be the plan, which sometimes happens, sometimes works out, and sometimes doesn't. But the plan is to tape the windshield, do that, and then to spray paint it the next day off screen in my better ventilated, if not well ventilated area. And then the next stream after that, put on the windshield, the gun sight, and the motor. Probably drop it on the floor and break it. Probably do that. That would be just the kind of thing that would happen on this stream. Excuse me. So you can see this is a slightly darker shade than the blade on the flaming longsword. And that's... Somebody would probably say, well, you should probably put some sort of wash or something on the blade to make it look livelier, but I don't want it to. I want it to look... It's a magical longsword. I want it to look pristinely silvery. Is that supposed to be part of the flame there? That's really hard to tell. If how that was done. It looks almost like that, like it's slightly raised and has a different texture. Just like this bit here that I painted on twice that I thought should be part of the blade, but it looks like the flame kind of curls up around. I'll paint that yellow. So the dagger's done. Hey, the dagger is Tashira dagger. It's of very ancient lineage. I don't know if the hilt being bronze is correct or not. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's how it should be. I can always repaint it if it doesn't look right. Oh, excuse me. It's starting to get cold. Yeah, it's odd how, and it's very consistent from one stream to the next. Is that I'm really pretty fine, and then during the last hour of the stream, I just start feeling cold. The temperature down here is the same. I don't know why that is. Why I end up starting to feel cold, but I do. And then I sniffle a little bit, and then in the last half hour of the stream, regardless of whatever it is, I become somewhat incoherent and can't get the right words out, and that's also when I start dropping things and bumping the brush of paint against a surface that shouldn't be painted and stuff like that. I'm just using this lacquer thinner again to clean the brushes because there's paint buildup in them. I might as well just keep this out here. You'll see that this will take some paint out of the brush. No, it wasn't cleaned off. Look at that. It wasn't cleaned off using just water. The brush is permanently green now. Oh, I keep forgetting. Yep. So I'm going to need the yellow paint to do touch up on the sword. And I need the gloss red. This one to do the little jewel. Oh, no, it's a flaming longsword. It's not a Tashira sword. If it were a Tashira sword, it wouldn't have a red jewel on it. It would be green. It would be an emerald, but this isn't a Tashira sword. This is a flaming longsword that I picked up in the show somewhere along the way that I don't remember where. It was a useful weapon. It does potentially as much fire damage as slashing damage. I can get a maximum of 12 slashing damage at my current status as a fighter out of the sword. And it does 2d6 flame damage, so I could get 12 flame damage as well. That has never really happened. I usually what I roll is 3 is a common number. Sometimes 4 or 5 on a d20. But on a d8, it's usually between 1 and 4. And the d6s, sometimes I'll get like 2 5s or something, not too bad a roll. But there's kind of a joke going on in our D&D show, in that I was trained by a Tashira master who had actually been one of the leaders of an elven cult in a Tashira fighting style, and then we've been fighting some Tashira and the NPCs, so the DM rolls for them. The NPCs would, they would roll like 3s and 4s and stuff, just like me. So the joke was that I was definitely trained in the Shiranun fighting style, which consists mainly of waving the blade around and not hitting anything. Just very artistic waving around, I guess. Yeah, the cap was stuck on. The better contrast for the reviewing. The cap was stuck on because it had just been a while since this paint had been used. Paint the inside one first here. This brush. I keep this brush just keeps being destroyed. Should probably, yeah. I'm going to put these on. It really makes a big difference, the light and magnification. And, this isn't incredibly detailed, but I want to get an edge correct, and really helps me see what I'm doing. It doesn't help my hand. It doesn't help get the paint to the right spot, but it helps see where the right spot is. Like the bristles exploded. When I put the plastic sleeve on, it must have disrupted them. Try to put them back. Keep destroying brushes. Yeah, it looks like, again, from one angle it looked really fine, and from another it went a little too far. So I have to paint over that. And then one of these little side bristles here got red paint on it. One of the bristles that has stopped being a point. It's just cohesion. It's way off to the side. It got red paint on it. And I was saying, where did that little red spot come from? It came from the rogue bristle. They're just, it's like the whole tip of the brush, like half of the bristles. Just, I might have to give up on this. It's got a nice point on it, but bristles just got splayed around. Yeah. See, they got red paint all over the bottom there. And it's just because the brush, you can just see them. I mean, you can see how they're just a mess. I have to give up on that. Maybe I can repair it. Maybe I can't anymore. But I need to come back and do some repainting because I've got red spots. I just bought a bunch of new brushes. When I get back from this latest trip, I will be testing them out. They're kind of like this one, the red sable or synthetic red sable. And they're 10-0 and 20-0. Good for this sort of thing. Is that on camera? Yeah, it kind of is. You can almost see what I'm doing. Well, as I'm doing this, I did not expect that I would have to be doing touch-up with the metallic colors. But I didn't expect there to be a bristle on the brush that would then spread red paint all over places where it didn't belong. And then when there was, I should have stopped right away, but I didn't. That was a fairly typical Dyson Dungeons painting, a relaxing painting screw up. Thing I do. A little bit for that red paint to dry, and then do my best to touch up the red spots that happened because of the paintbrush just falling apart. In the meantime, I'm going to just wrestle with this bottle cap. It was stuck on, and now it's not going on. It's like there isn't really much paint in the rim. There we go. I was just having trouble getting it lined up. Okay, the next step for me is to do yellow touch up where I got, I might as well keep these on, where I got silvery paint on where the flame is supposed to be, because when I was putting it on, it looked like it shouldn't be there, but then it was. A little more. It's actually the opposite. Actually, the opposite. I thought here, right here, it looks like the flame came up there, but it doesn't. It's actually way back there. And I need to put a little bit more of this on rather than less. Got 10 times more paint than I need, but it's wrong like that. Hope I can wipe that off. That was one of my classic oopses. Is I was bringing the brush up to the surface. I bumped it into an already painted surface. Made a mess of it. Yeah, it's coming on early today. The messiness. Very much of it. In fact, it almost looks better. Reef. Where did that come from? There's another spot where I there was another spot where I hit it with the metallic paint. Here's a spot that who knows why that's there. But mostly it looks okay. A few places where I just made a really serious faux pas. I'm just going to leave this alone now, except for I need a tiny touch of all things of just red. Whatever red I used for that, I can't remember. Explaining that pretty much what I'm doing here is fixing things that I messed up. Because why not? Why not mess them up? There. Okay, I'm going to stop messing with that. I do need to do a little bit of touching up with the bronze paint where the rogue bristles, that other brush, put red spots on places I didn't want them. That rogue brush is just sitting there in the water doing what it probably shouldn't be doing. Stop talking, didn't I? But once again, just as a reminder, I'm going to be away until early May. I will be back, and the things I'll be working on first will be completing the Savoia. That'll take 2 streams. One stream to mask the windshield, and the other stream to do the final assembly. And that will be done, and I will show it to everybody and then figure out where to put it where it won't get covered in dust, which it would otherwise. And then I'm going to continue working on this figure, because by then I will have probably made some decisions about what to do with the armor and the cloak, at least in terms of what base coat there will be. Aside on go back to these. These are tests for the cloak. Let's see if there's any hope for this brush at all. Like it's coming back together again, but once again, it's a glossy paint. I didn't put my paints away. I just stacked them up here, and isopropyl. Try. No, don't put it there. That's the model. Try the isopropyl and see if that'll clean it. The bristles, such as they are now brilliant red. Get them to come back to a point, because they just jutted out. There's one here that, I don't know, it's just not coming back. So this brush just keeps getting pointier and pointier as the bristles splay and don't come back and just need to be trimmed off. I mean, it's still a good brush, but it's not, it's like half as much as it was originally. So these are potential base colors, base paint colors for the cloak of my maxi figure. And they are going to be tested with the speed paint and with another color I was going to try, the emerald. Let me use the speed paint first. That's the easiest one to do. I might also try it. Let me just do that first. This is the very, very thinned out that. Freaky. This isn't. I'm just the water is all full of ink, of paint, and so I'm just going to keep the isopropyl alcohol available and use that for cleaning because that's the only thing that's going to work now. I really don't want to get the lacquer thinner out again, so I'm not going to. I really need all over this. Okay, try to speed paint. Let's see what happens with this. Enough of it. It's supposed to be orc skin, but it's really bright green. Is not going right. A little was not going a long way, so then I got impatient. I have way too much. So it seems to go today. But I haven't made too much of a disaster of anything because I didn't really do anything. The paint repair on the Savoia was really mediocre. it was just a really dumb thing, a dumb mistake I made as I was doing a very simple thing. And then there was a downside to that, of course. So I don't know how this is going to look, but I'm kind of curious about it. It's a really pretty color. It's not. It's a little bit bluer than I would expect it to Sheer-Noon stuff to be, but it's a really pretty color. So I'm going to try it. And what I'm going to be doing is attempting to kind of dry brush it on. Do a fair amount of it. Because I want to see only looks with it. I might like do a multiple layers. Well, maybe like dry brushing this on and then doing a wash over that even. I don't know, this might be kind of cool looking. What's that? After I get this brush sort of clean, I'm going to recap of what I'm trying to do here, what I'm attempting to do in terms of colors for the Seth Ralph figure. So I put in a plug once again for our Dungeons and great. Just knocking. I just knocked the microphone over. And there's another paper towel. That's a mess. And this is a mess. And this is sort of, but not very clean. Guess I have to do the lacquer thinner thing again. Okay. So part of these things, is I'm attempting to take a look at how to do the armor. because I want the armor to be it's magic mithril plate. It's a several thousand year old set of armor that in the lore of the D&D show that we're doing was a gift from one founder of what later became a cult, a military cult among the elves, a gift from one founder to the other, from Ilntaro to Ramarden. I was brought up to admire Ramarden by an elf elder who befriended me when I was orphaned. It's sort of clean now. And I should just put the trash can closer. And their color scheme is green with silver trim. And I'd like this, I could either do it in just a gloss green, like this figure that was done in gloss green with silver trim. That was my very, very first original Ulseth Ralph, wearing Elven Tashurnu and armor that for some reason seems to fit, even though it didn't fit in the show. And so I could just do this all over this and then try to do some highlighting in some fashion. Or I looked at, well, maybe I could do it like that with a metallic overlay. And it doesn't work. The metallic on the color doesn't work, but the color on the metallic seems to work. This ink that I bought, I spent like twice as much on this as I should have, and it doesn't work at all. This is a speed paint, and that's not too bad. And this is actually this color, just thinned down into a wash. And that actually does look okay. It's kind of like between these two. This one's a little more yellow and brighter, and this one's a little more blue. It's kind of between these two. It looks better on the brighter undercoat than it does on the dark. It just loses its shininess. So I'm kind of tempted to, it's either going to be just a gloss green, or I'm going to do something like this, with paint it all metallic, and then do a wash on it. And I'm leaning right now toward thinning out the gloss green. I'm not sure. And then what I'm playing with down here is the cloak, which is there. It's just the cloak. And playing with these two base coats. This is kind of, I like the idea of the cloak being a little bit brighter. This is not a bad color, this green, but the washes don't work. This is a little more interesting. And what I'm going to do, just as I'm finishing up, is I put the base coat on and I put this kind of bluish over it, which I think looks kind of cool. And I'm thinking, what if I took some of the speed paint, this here, and put it on that as well, so I had like 3 layers. And do it 2 different ways. One is put the speed, that and the bluish, and then the speed paint, or this, the speed paint, and then the bluish. I don't know. Let's see, I'm going to try this one first. I can get enough speed paint on the brush to make this work. then the green doesn't work on those base colors. It just doesn't at all. Kind of disappointingly and surprisingly. This is the opposite. Put the speed paint down first, and I'm putting the bluish green over it. That might work, but I'm gonna let's see what it looks like on the darker one. Why just give it a try. Okay, that was a test. I'm gonna check that out with my the artist of our group, Nicole, who plays Zoya on Sewell. Check it out with her to see which, if any of these, might look okay. Okay, I'm going to recap and then wrap up. After I almost just knocked this over. I brushed against it with my hand. Nice. I'm gonna just leave a mess here for when I get back and give me something to do is talk about cleaning up. Okay, kind of from the back forward, I've done some testing here of different paints for the armor. I tested, this is a dark glossy green, and that's just a dark green, which has a little more yellow. This is a little more blue. I kind of lean toward this. If I were just to do one or the other without anything else, I would do that. But then I thought, well, maybe I could paint it metallic and then do an overcoat to green it up. And that actually kind of works. Like this is more yellow green, and this is more blue green. Okay, kind of leaning toward that, but I think that doesn't look too bad. That actually looks okay. This is the gloss green paint, this thinned down. And then I'm trying to do something with the cloak that would make it look like velvety kind of thing. I don't want it to match exactly. So I had a couple of base coats, a light green and a little darker green, and then brushed the speed paint on it and the thinned out green, which doesn't work. And then this sort of blue green, it's called emerald, as an overcoat. And then I thought, well, maybe a 3-layer thing. This is light green, emerald green, and then a wash over with the speed paint. And this is just the opposite. It's light green, speed paint, and then the bluish. And I'm kind of liking that. Kind of liking the light green with the speed paint with the light blue on it. 3-layered. And if none of that ever works, then I can just repaint it, I guess. But I've got these things to work with on this guy. I got the sword painted. The sword is finished, including the red emerald, the ruby jewel. Okay, and it came out okay. The flaming longsword looks okay. I got the gold underneath with the bronze on top. I think the darker on the light looks pretty good. I painted the dagger, which isn't anything special. I suppose I could put some gray wash, like some dark gray wash on the blade. I'm going to leave this blade unwashed. I want it to be shiny. It's a magic sword. This is a dagger. I could like do the edge or something, like darken the back of it. I'm not going to do that today, but that's something I could do. So what I really need to work on is like the armor and the cloak. The inside of the cloak is going to stay that dark green. This is actually this color, and then there's a lot of armor to paint. So I'll get some consultation on these colors and these color combinations and see if Zoria thinks any of them are okay. The other thing is I'm going to move the camera, not going to move the model. Okay, there. Like, hey, director, move the camera. This is the Savoia. The floats are attached. They're pretty vertical. Okay, they're not bad. The model is not designed to rest on the floats. Okay, they will never be weight bearing, which is good because they're not designed to do that. But they will look like this. Okay, they hang down and it helps it float. And this is the top of the wing that's got dust on it. The motor is mounted on the top of that. And I'm just going to leave that here like that. And then this has a flaw on it. That's an unfortunate flaw in the paint. But I managed to attach the airspeed indicator. And this is pretty much now ready to receive the windshield and the gun sight, which I need to work on. Those are the major parts that need to be worked on. I don't know how I can fix that. It was just a flaw, and then the paint didn't level. I think it'll just have to stay that way. It'll be my B- spot. B- spot in the entire model, and it's fortunately in like an almost invisible place on the whole model. You have to turn it over and look at that particular place before you can see it. And now that's covered up, and I can move this back. I will be gone until the first week of May. When I get back, I will mask the windshield for the Savoia and then spray paint it. And then after that, hopefully just final, as long as that came out okay, final assembly, and then the Savoia will be finished. Maybe I will have a color combination approved for the armor and the cloak. I might just do the cloak first, because if that goes bad, then I'll just paint it over and start over on that. Yeah, and I'll be working on this. And the other thing I've got is I do have the Porco Rosso minifig that goes with the model. I can paint that. I can finish up the Apollo, and then I need to really begin thinking seriously about what I'm going to work on next, because there actually will be a next thing. And the contenders are the America's Cup wooden plank model, like a skill level 4 kind of thing that I might take on. It's a really beautiful thing. Or the Lotus powered by Ford 1965 Indy car winner, the first rear engine car to do that. I built that one when I was a kid in 1966. And now I have, I don't think it was a reissue. I don't know if it was a reissue or if it's one of the originals, but I got one, and it's still shrink wrapped even. It has several price tags on it. I have to see if the prices went up or down. I think they went up. But that might be an interesting thing to build. It's fairly small, so I could actually put it in a display case that I've got way over there on top of things where no one can see it. Just keep the dust out, but it might I might actually do that. I'm kind of leaning toward that next because I really want to build the ship model, but I'm not sure I'm ready for it. Okay, so when I get back in May, I'll be working on this, be finishing up the Savoia, finishing up hopefully the Apollo, and then beginning another model. And in the end, and that's it. That's what I'll be doing. So thanks everybody. Be sure to catch our Dungeons and Dragons show. Dice and Dungeons could use you to be, would wish you to. Yeah, it's the last half hour incoherence. Dice and Dungeons invites you to become a follower on Twitch, a subscriber on YouTube, or if you want to, you could even go to patreon.com/Dice and Dungeons and become a patron of the show and this stream as well. So I'll be back in like 3 weeks. So yeah, I hope I missed. I'll be back in 3 weeks. I'll be working on these things. I'll be finishing a model, trying to finish another model, and starting a third model on in the sequence of things. Take care. See you then. Bye.